I'm Allan Cogan. Join me as I tour the country tasting different whiskeys and discussing the craft of distillation with local distillers, whiskey lovers, and even those who are new to the culture of spirits. Welcome to the Cogan Conversation. In this episode, I had the privilege of sitting down with co-founder Jim Larkin and head distiller Kevin Szady from Murlarkey Distilled Spirits, located in Bristow, Virginia. Jim and Kevin discussed their proud support for local farms and showcased their unique offerings that set Murlarkey apart from other craft distilleries. If you like this episode and others we've done, I'd appreciate a share on social media and a review on your favorite podcast platform. Hope you enjoy the episode. Cheers. All right, so we're here in Murlarkey in Bristow, Virginia, the distillery, on site with Kevin and Jim.
Well, thank you, and Allan, thanks for having us. My name is Jim Larkin. I'm one of the co-founders of Murlarkey Distilled Spirits, along with my cousin Tom Murray and my brother Mike Larkin. We formed this company back in late 2014, early 15, and we opened our doors in 2016. So it's a second career for us. We're all having a fun time, and it's been a great experience so far, and we're looking forward to moving forward.
Awesome.
And the Murrays, Larkins, and their grandparents were the Kellys. So Murray, Larkin, Kelly, Murlarkey, plus Malarkey means bullshit in Irish, so it kind of fits the whole atmosphere here. So
I love that.
And I'm Kevin Szady. I'm the head distiller here.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, yes, thank you both for having me. This is awesome. I've tried one of your bourbons before, the Smokehouse, and shamefully I've never bought a bottle. I've just had a friend who had it when I moved here. But I'm interested to see your lineup and what you have to offer, because Virginia has a lot of cool whiskey history. And I mean, you're here and I've seen it, farm to flask on your signs. So tell me about the distillery and how you came to get into this business.
Sure. Well, this is the brainchild of my brother Mike and his father-in-law George Poppy Zwetko. Poppy is his father-in-law, and he's an executive chef, a 5-star chef out of New York City, and many years of private dining and corporate dining, and he really thinks in flavors. And so he now is our head mixologist, but more importantly, he assists Kevin with the infusion part, mostly of our spirits. 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot of craft distilling in Virginia, and it really has skyrocketed in terms of not only growth but popularity. Not only in Virginia, but throughout the United States.
Yes.
So we think that as a second career for us, we looked at a business plan and we thought that it might be an opportunity to get ahead of the curve, ahead of the distilling curve, and we feel like we did that. And that helped carry us through some challenging times as COVID provided for us, as well as every other business. But in this particular industry, it was nice to be ahead of the curve, be in a lot more ABC stores in Virginia, and have a little bit more of a well-known brand and name recognition in Virginia, so that in those tough times, folks still thought of Murlarkey.
Absolutely. I mean, Murlarkey is kind of hard to miss.
Yeah, well, we think so. We always smile when we hear Murlarkey, because not only is it a blessing to have bottles on the shelves bearing our names, but it truly is, as Kevin mentioned, a play on the word Murlarkey. So
yeah.
A bunch of Irish kids grew up in New England. Moved down here about 20 years ago. All our families now and children are in Virginia. Now the children are from Virginia, so we've effectively made the transition from the Northeast down to Virginia.
That's beautiful. Well,
yeah.
Before I ask Kevin how he got into his awesome job that I hope to have one day, because my job is just paperwork. Well, did you get into this distilling first, or were just the business side of it? How did you get into whiskey?
So my brother Mike and Poppy were basically experimenting at the house. They were having a lot of fun, experimenting with things like brewing their own beer, partnering with local vintners to make their own wine. Poppy makes everything from his own pickles to his own kombucha, to things like that. He's always, as I mentioned, young at heart. He's always tinkering when it comes to food, beverages, flavors. So when they started looking at distillation, Poppy thought it would be an incredible opportunity. Not only did they love their brown whiskeys, vodkas, and gins, but an opportunity to explore the market of infused whiskeys. So they really came into making a corn whiskey, 100% Virginia corn, and infusing that all naturally with flavors such as natural ingredients such as cinnamon sticks, lemon peel and lemon wheels, dehydrated organic baby bananas, to name a few. And of course, the line has exploded in these past 8 years. Having Kevin on board has allowed Poppy to spend less time distilling and more time infusing.
Very cool.
Yes, sir.
No added sugar, colors, flavors, preservatives to any of those flavor infusions. They're all natural. They're the way flavored whiskey should taste like. They're not the fireballs, the red stags, the sugared up, sickly sweet ones.
So Kevin, tell me about how you got into distilling.
So 17 years ago, I may or may not have started making moonshine in my backyard. This is my first legal job here. I've been here about 7 years. Literally, before they opened, I was peering in the window. Jim came up and, opened the door and said, "Can I help you?" I said, "I'm really into whiskey. When are you guys going to open up?" He said, "Come back in a few weeks." I did. I got to know them very well. Great people. I started helping them out at some festivals and stuff. Eventually, they said, "Hey, we need a little bit of help in the back. You want to come, do this for a living?" Kind of the old twist the arm moment. Right place, right time. Great people, and it's been wonderful ever since.
That's so cool. What I love about a lot of these craft distilleries that have been popping up exponentially in the last decade is the room to experiment and try different things. I mean, everyone knows what bourbon is. Everyone knows what American single malt is, and there's a lot of great stuff out there. I don't want to step on the brands like Jim Beam or Jack Daniels. They're great stuff, but there's a lot of these small little places like yourselves that are doing some different things and trying different things. You have more room to work with. You don't have a rack house of 9,000 barrels that need to taste the same to sell in the same bottle.
Correct.
Every bottle that you make is going to be different.
Correct. And you mentioned some of the big boys. They have become true spirits manufacturers, no question. But if you visited those locations, which are tremendous experiences in and of themselves, they all started very humbly. They started with a family on a farm and a passion. And at the end of the day, that's what the new boys are trying to recreate in their own way. Us in particular is our story, our spirits, our history. And if we're blessed that will continue and resonates with our guests both in Virginia and outside, then eventually maybe one day we'll become one of the big boys.
Yeah, I love to see Murlarkey as a national brand. It's a great name. I love saying it.
Absolutely. It's fun. You were talking about the experiments and stuff and being a little bit different. You mentioned the smokehouse. That's actually a whiskey, not a bourbon, because it's not in a new charred oak barrel.
Ah, yes.
So we do a couple different things. We've got a heritage whiskey where we take Virginia red wine barrels from local wineries. We take it outside and we char it ourselves. We char the red wine barrel and put our 70% corn, 20% rye, 10% apple and cherrywood smoked malted barley inside that barrel and age it in that charred red wine barrel.
Ooh.
That's our heritage whiskey. So that's more closer to an Irish style whiskey because it's a little softer, a little easier drinking, maybe a little hint of fruitiness in the mid palate. And then the smokehouse, we take staves from our barrels, we cut them up into little pieces, put them in the top of a smoker, 10 pounds of slide bacon at the bottom, smoke that bacon for 8 hours, the smoke gets in that wood, put that wood in the barrel heritage whiskey for a month. So we've got a couple here if you want to try to sample some of those while we're talking about them.
Yeah, if you brought it up. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is our heritage. This is our first flagship aged whiskey here. Like I said, in the charred red wine barrel. Want one, Jimmy? Real easy drinking, some great flavors to it.
So it's fun for us in particular to educate our guests on the difference between bourbon and whiskey, in particular Virginia whiskey. And not everybody knows exactly the difference. So it's fun in our tasting room and when Kevin's doing tours to explain that definition to folks.
See, isn't that real easy drinking, but great flavors? A lot of different layers to it.
Yeah, it's very fruity.
Absolutely. That red wine layers, that whiskey's on in and out of that barrel is picking up, especially that mid palate. You get that fruitiness coming in.
Yeah.
And then most of our whiskeys at the tail end, you'll get a little bit of pipe tobacco smoke and just a hint of smoke. That's from that apple and cherrywood smoked malted barley, which is very unique. Even comes through in our bourbon and everything, which is nice. So it kind of separates us out. A lot of people can pick us out of lineups because of that specific taste.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's cool. See, and that's the thing, too, is that, Jim, you talked about the difference between bourbon and whiskey. A lot of people don't. That's an uphill battle for me telling people, you like bourbon, but do you like whiskey? It's like, okay,
yeah, sometimes it's easier.
Exactly.
Right. But it's really easy to show a benchmark bourbon or benchmark whiskey that just is a general whiskey flavor. But stuff like this, where you have it's other flavor profiles that it's really cool because some people who don't think they're a whiskey person gets to this and thinks, oh wow, that's That's interesting.
Yeah, right.
So have you found that part of the fun of this job is to create interesting things? Have you fall asleep at night, have a dream about something, try it out, and then someone loves it?
No question. What George and with Poppy and Kevin come up with are staple products that can scale. Number one, but more importantly, the infusion process and the other ways to create different flavors. We're fortunate that we have two very experienced whiskey palates and whiskey drinkers to lead our whiskey company, and that gives us not only credibility, but it gives us comfort that when guests come in, and we have a lot of guests from the non-whiskey drinker to the very passionate whiskey drinker. These guys give them the opportunity to talk the same language.
Yeah.
And that makes us feel very comfortable.
We do get a lot of people come in and say, I'm not a whiskey person. They're thinking scotch, bourbons, that kind of things. But with their flavor infused lines, they're all, oh my God, that's amazing. It tastes like you can have a chocolate hazelnut truffle drink, or you can have a lemon meringue pie, or an orange dreamsicle. And they're like, oh my God, I guess I like whiskey now, which is kind of cool having that extension.
Yeah.
Then also seeing the connoisseurs, as Jimmy mentioned, trying the smokehouse or trying the heritage or trying our birthright bourbon, and having their eyes go, wow, that's really, really good, especially at some of the ages they're at, is really kind of gratifying when it comes through as well.
Has there been any uphill battle with marketing to like any whiskey snobs that say, oh, they're infusing their whiskey, or has that kind of gone away as you've built credibility?
No, well, it has softened a little bit, lessened in that regard, but we'll. To some of those whiskey aficionados, or AKA snobs, we potentially would never be or replace what they're looking for, which is from a 200-year-old whiskey house.
Right.
But if we can charm them into at least trying some of our things, understanding what our story is, even if they wouldn't put us up against some of their 10, 12, 15-year aged bigger houses.
Yet
they give us they give us the opportunity to, and they walk away with the feeling that we know what we're doing. We're on the right path, and they actually give us their blessing. And to some degree, that's that makes us feel very special and proud that those folks that scrutinize very, 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 very strictly give us the opportunity to grow.
Sure.
I think it has gone away since we don't add sugar into these, and they're not sugared up, especially the flavor infused lines. I think we get more of a pass because it's not sickly sweet. You're not getting diabetes from drinking a glass of it, anything like that. And then when we show them our age line and they see the quality of what we're doing with that, they get an understanding, okay, you're covering all the bases for the people who don't like whiskey and don't want to taste the alcohol in there,
right,
to the snobs, as you say, who want to have the aged whiskey and get the really nice taste, the caramels, the cherries, the vanillas, the leathers, those kind of things still come through.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the one that you just gave me was phenomenal. And you said there's another one, right?
I just poured the smokehouse for you as well, which I think you've had.
Yeah.
We do have another one. Speaking of experimentals, we have a single barrel experimental line called Brutality. This is different every time. This is our 26 Brutality. This one, we took one of our heritage whiskey barrels, emptied it, gave it to Tucked Away Brewing in Manassas. They put a stout in there, aged a stout in that barrel for 6 months. We got the barrel back, put our 70, 20, 10 mash bill in there for 4 more years. We took it out of the barrel. Then we, instead of proofing it down with water to 100 proof for bottling, we got some Ornery Beer Company Vienna Lager and proofed it down with that. So it's very, very unique. A lot of different layers on it. And this one's been very popular. These are, every time, they're crazy, wildly different. And that's what people are really looking for. They really like our brutalities because they know it's going to be something unique and something different. And that's the ones where Poppy and I will wake up in the middle of the night and say, hey, what if we charred one of our cinnamon barrels and put a 4-year heritage whiskey or bourbon in there for another 2 years? What would happen?
Yeah.
And that's where some of those stuff comes through, and people are, wow, that's just different and amazing. I think I just poured you one right there, too, if you want to give that one a try.
Beautiful. Well, first of all, this smokehouse is, I've had this before, and I love bacon. Do you guys have a party with the bacon you use after?
Nobody calls in sick that Friday when we have BLTs, so it's
That's
amazing.
Right. That's so cool. I mean, it's so flavorful. But
Big barbecue smoke. It's not like an Ela smoke. You're not tasting the peat or the dirt or anything, but it is like a barbecue in there. So in an old fashioned, you get the smoke really coming through. In a Bloody Mary, it works very well as well.
That'd be perfect in a cocktail. And again, like for someone who's not a whiskey drinker, they introduce them to something like this. It's not sugary or full of, that liquid campfire. It's a legit process.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If I'm grilling like a pork butt on my back porch, having a glass of that on the rocks, just really comes through. You get the pork smoke going, get that big barbecue flavor coming through. It's just so good.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about, before I try the next one, tell me about the product and how much are you working with Virginia farms and tell me about that story, because I love that about local craft distilleries where they're trying to be community based.
Sure. Well, when we started, we started very humbly as a family business. And so hence when we went to the brown whiskeys, we used and sourced Virginia red wine barrels. They were local, they were abundant, they became neutral at the vintners. Discretion, and so when we could get those readily available, we could age some whiskeys, and we had to do some coopering there with taking off the tops and re-putting them back on, things of that nature. So that was exciting for us. Most of our products when we started out were 100% Virginia. We did start out with a potato vodka.
Oh,
and that was an award-winning, 2-time gold medal winning potato vodka, and it was delicious and resonated with us as an Irish family, being having a potato vodka. Through COVID, though, we had a hard time sourcing the potatoes and bringing them in, and so we decided to have a strategic decision to go 100% Virginia with all our grains. So now our vodka is 100% Virginia corn.
Wow!
So that's exciting for us. We do not believe that we took a step backwards. In fact, we think in quality we move forward with Kevin and Poppy's. The ability to carbon filter it. It is second to none Virginia vodka. So we're very proud of that. But it's gone then now 100% as a company to farm to flask, as we say, and have a tagline. It's 100% Virginia.
Anything we can do from Virginia, we do. Our barrels are from Speyside Bourbon Cooperage down south of Roanoke.
Yep.
Our coffee's Haymarket Coffee Roaster up the street. The tea's Virginia Tea Company. All the grains, Virginia. So anything we can do to give back to local farmers, local businesses, we do. We know people are coming here to drink local. We want to give back local as well.
No, it's beautiful. I appreciate that. But what about when you guys first started? Were you sourcing anything to just make ends meet, or were your white spirits paying the bill?
We've always done our own stuff here.
Correct.
So
Very
100%. Cool. We haven't been sourcing. We want to look ourselves in the mirror and know that we're making our stuff and putting it out there. Not to say there's anything wrong with sourcing or anything, but we feel better about making our own product all the way.
Yeah.
And to echo that, when we started, it was the vodka and the gin, and then the white whiskey, and that white whiskey was infused with the lemon peel and the cinnamon sticks. It wasn't until Kevin started knocking on our door and asking where our brown whiskey barrels were that we really started to say as a company, how are we going to scale? How are we going to move forward? What is the future of our brand? And that's when we made a business decision to also do and focus on brown whiskeys as well.
Yeah.
And until Kevin came on, we really didn't have that confidence to do that. And certainly now we do.
Well, cheers to you being here.
Thank you. But a lot of people were asking, where's your bourbon? Where's your aged whiskey? Where's your whatever? They're coming in, getting the flavor infusions, the vodka and gin, which are all wonderful.
Yeah.
They still, those connoisseurs were looking for the brown whiskeys.
Yeah, the market's exploded in that.
Big time.
Correct.
I mean, it's been wild
Crazy.
to watch.
Big time.
And I know you being in Virginia, being a distillery or even a liquor store is a unique legal experience in this state. But you just go across the Potomac to D.C. or up north to Maryland, the secondary market is selling some rare
Wild
bottles,
West.
rare quote unquote bottles for 500% more.
No question.
It's
no
insane.
Question. No, it is insane, and that's where something like the brutalities come in. They're single barrel, they're limited releases. So even we feel that pinch at our own distillery because locals look to come there, and it sells out fairly quickly. So while we feel disappointed that they couldn't get theirs, it actually puts an importance on making sure that they do get it as soon as it comes out.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the pride in actually working here with your hands as a small craft operation. I'm sure, are you bottling by hand or are you?
We are.
Yeah. So
2 bottles at a time right now.
do you think any of that TLC, that hands-on TLC, gives a little bit more quality to the product?
I think so. There's no automation on our stills here, so it's all me, smell, taste, adjusting stuff. In the summertime, it can be 120 degrees in here. The wintertime, it can be 50. So I've got to do stuff differently in the summer than the winter. So it is art guided by science at that point. It is a little bit of my soul, a little bit of Poppy's soul in every batch that we do.
Wow.
Blending is another thing that's very important. People don't think about, our small batches are 5 barrels. You don't want to randomly grab 5 barrels and put them together. It may be disjointed. They may not, work with each other. So sitting down and tasting through a bunch of barrels and finding the ones that work together is very important as well. So every step of the way is, hand done here, from putting the grains in the mash tun to running the still to tuning the still, putting them in the barrels, aging them, putting the yeast in, bottling, everything. The pride of ownership is huge, and being able to do that every step of the way and know we don't have a computer program doing it or anything along those lines.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. I mean, it kind of adds to the terroir and the, you're standing on the ground, you're making the actual product. It's not a big machinery thing, which, I mean, hey, make your money, but I love this.
Correct. And that will be our company's biggest, I guess, concern moving forward is, as we scale,
right?
How do you maintain that level of authenticity that our customers, our clients have come to accept and appreciate and expect.
Right.
So we do not take that lightly. But as Kevin mentioned, once he's blended the spirits and it's bottle ready, it goes through about 12 more hands, 6 more people of hand bottling, hand labeling, hand capsuling, hand corking, hand stacking. So there are a lot of folks that appreciate that hands-on experience, and we need to continue to make sure that as we move forward, we maintain that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, so this is the heritage you poured. Yes?
So that's the brutality.
I'm sorry.
Brutality, absolutely. The experimental one. That's with the beer and everything else going into it.
Ooh, that's different.
Very unique. Great fall sipper. This one's pretty good. We had one that we put into a Hungarian oak barrel. Hungarian oak has more vanillins in it, so it came out tasting like a creme brulee.
Oh.
That was pretty amazing. The one before this, we aged in a charred red wine barrel for 5 years, had big cherry and vanilla notes on it, which was nice. This one's very unique, which is kind of cool. You really can taste the different layers. You get that roasted malt, you get some sweetness, you get some little chocolate, maybe a little vanilla going in there as well, so it's pretty cool.
That's a lot of chocolate on that. I get that's
absolutely.
That's
very
really
nice.
Good. So how limited is that? How many bottles of that
About
do you
210 bottles out of that barrel right there.
Wow.
When it's gone, it's gone. So I think we've got maybe 10 more.
Correct.
So it's just about, so I just released it last week, so a few remaining, and then the next one will be out probably February or March of next year. We do 2 or 3 releases of those a year.
No question. And it's fun because depending on what the barrel yields, you'll get anywhere from 180 to 220 bottles, right?
Right.
At 750 milliliters, and we bottle at 100 proof or 50% alcohol. Some releases, the guests don't even get to try. We have such a limited amount that we don't even have them sample. So it's a testament to their trust in us.
It's built up quite the following that people do just come in and buy it sight unseen, taste untasted.
Yeah.
Correct. And most, I would say a good 50% of our guests that buy a second bottle. They'll drink one and save one, and then after because they will like or prefer one more over the other, right?
Of course.
This has this Oktoberfest sort of beer flavor. The one before it had that cherry, so that cherry blossom we called it. If they prefer the cherry blossom over the Vienna lager, then they're more apt to come back and say, hey, has anybody not picked up cherry blossom or something like that nature. So it is a nice relationship that we have with these folks.
Do you enjoy doing those special one-offs more than the general that's always available? Is there any kind of
They're definitely fun to do because it's experimental. The other ones we're trying to hit a profile and looking for it to be close to everything else, whereas these ones just go crazy, come up with some crazy idea, whether Poppy comes up with something or I do. So it's fun to do, but I'm a big bourbon guy, so I definitely love doing our regular Birthright or Birthright Distiller Select and the Heritage because that's what I drink every day.
Sure. Very cool. Have you found a sweet spot for aging, or do you have is it like, no, I have to get it on the shelf, or is it?
So right now we've got a couple different age forms. So our Smokehouse and our Heritage are 4 years old, so they've hit that mark. Our Birthright Distiller Select is a single barrel release that we release every other month, basically. That's 4 years old, and that's barrel proof. Barrel proof for us is low. We put the whiskey into the barrel at 110 proof. Our proof actually goes down. It comes out somewhere between 103 to 105 proof.
Wow.
One thing very unique about us, we age everything in steel shipping containers out in the parking lots here. We call them our redneck brick houses. So in the summertime, it can be 150 degrees in there.
Yeah.
In the wintertime, it can be 5 degrees in there. So when it's hot, the whiskey goes deep into the wood. When it's cold, it pushes it out. So we get extreme cycles, hot to cold. We get great flavors at different ages. So right now, our regular Birthright small batch is 3 years old. The Distiller Select is 4 years old. We've got some that are aging longer that will have 5, 6, 7, 8 years. We need to wait for that to happen.
Right.
So right now we found that 3 years and up have really, really great flavors to it.
I love that. That's just in shipping containers in the back.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
It wasn't even really a conscious decision. It's we need to store these somewhere. What are we going to do? We got the containers and just saw that, wow, it's just crazy how great the flavors came out.
Yeah.
And especially the summertime, all that angel share stays in there.
Yep.
So sometimes I'll go out there and open up the container, take a step inside, instant buzz going on. It's awesome. You can't beat all that evaporated whiskey's just sitting in the air there. Very cool.
And they'll sell tickets for that experience.
Absolutely. No doubt.
So what is your benchmark bourbon? The Birthright?
So the Birthright. I've got here, this is the Distiller Select. This is the 4-year. I'll give you a sample of here. We sell it in a nice cool box and everything. It is barrel proof, single barrel. You tasted that there.
Thank you.
So Birthright is our bourbon. We've got Birthright, the regular 3-year-old small batch, and this is the Distiller Select, the 4-year single barrel. Once again, a lot of layers on this guy.
Oh, that's good.
Absolutely. That's a single barrel. You get that cherry up front. You get the vanilla and caramel. Then it goes into that pipe tobacco with that just hint of smoke on the back end. So it's very unique with that. I love those layers. It's not boring, one-dimensional.
Yeah, well, and that's a thing, too. People get turned off a little bit when they're not big sweet tooths, that they think bourbon is sweet. And a lot of bourbons can be sweet and not complex. This is sweet and then stops being sweet and then is complex.
Correct.
I like that. That's good.
I appreciate it.
Man.
Yeah, we're very proud of it for sure. A regular Birthright won a double gold medal at the New York International Spirits Competition last year. So that was our first bourbon we ever released. We're pretty proud of that. We think this 4-year Distiller Select is really taking it to the next level as well. Don't get me wrong, I still love our regular small batch. That's just an everyday sipper, easy to go, along with the heritage as well.
Right. Have you guys thought about doing a bonded at all?
So we probably will. When our regular small batch gets to 4 years old,
okay,
we'll switch it over because it's 100 proof already. So it's easy just to make it a bottled and bond at that point when it hits that 4-year-old mark.
Cool. I know the bottle and bond thing is kind of
it's a
cool
marketing thing.
It's cool, yeah.
It's great. I mean, it does tell you something about it. You know it's at least 100 proof, minimum 4 years, one distillery, one season. So at least it's giving you some information by having that on there.
Yeah.
And as a business, we like those milestones, right? So that would be the next big milestone for Murlarkey, for Kevin, and for our brown aged spirits. Having the 2.5-year-old, then the 4-year, now the barrel strengths, certainly the brutalities. I'm looking here. We've got 5 brown whiskeys. I was just telling you earlier, we started with clear spirits, and now we're sampling 5 brown whiskeys, all very unique and all different. So again, when you come full circle to the whiskey drinker, we hope to have something that resonates with their palate. And then on the whole other side of the table, we have the infused whiskeys, the vodka and the gin that resonates with non-whiskey drinkers, cocktail drinkers, mixologists, those folks.
Right. What is your best seller? What do people love the most?
We move a lot of vodka.
Okay,
so vodka,
I would assume
vodka's as a clear spirit is the most drank spirit in the world globally. Vodka is, and it's no different in our region. And we have a wonderful seasonality to some of our products. The cinnamon infused whiskey sells wonderfully in the fall and the winter. Where then it tapers off to our 3T whiskey. Our 3T whiskey picks up in the spring and summer. So we have some of that, and then some of the staples in between. The gin is year-round,
right?
12 months of the year, which is nice. The gin, which we always enjoy when folks say they're not gin drinkers, we love to just sort of twist their arm by saying, well, just give ours a try and open up your mind and release some of those bad memories, if you will. And when they do, they recognize it's a softer gin. It's I call it for those folks. When I can tell, I just call it a juniper infused vodka.
I say it's not a basically dysfunctional family Christmas gin where you're hitting you upside the head with the Christmas tree. You don't get that big pine sol taste to it. It's more the lavender, the floral, the citrus coming out on it. Yeah,
so I'm not a gin drinker, and I grew up with my mom liking Beefeater, and
Correct.
I'm just like, you know what?
And you're right, and we also did, and maybe it was a generational thing, so we just didn't care to enjoy that spirit. What Poppy did is he introduced very harmonious and softer botanicals that pushed the juniper and the pine, the cardamom, and the coriander, the classic gins and flavors to the back, and brought out a more of a softer gin. And so it makes a lovely gin and tonic in particular, but all the gin drinks that are very classical, the gimlets, the Gibsons,
The Palomas.
the Palomas, certainly a gin martini with an olive is just very crisp, very clean.
Yeah.
And gin drinkers in particular tout it as such.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've loved exploring because I'm a whiskey guy, right? I'm probably first and foremost I'm a Scotch guy. I love Scotch.
Yeah.
Bourbon's number 2. It's slowly climbing back up to being equal as I do this. But I love going to distilleries that are primarily whiskey, and then they are like, you know what, we should do a gin. Or they started with a gin or a vodka to pay their bills,
Correct.
Waiting for 4 years or 2 years to make their whiskey
Correct.
and age it. And I've come around to a lot of different cocktails and gins and vodkas that I'm like, this is so different. And I'm curious because I've run into a couple distilleries that have a separate still just for their gin because putting the botanicals in the pot can just be a nightmare to clean. Are you doing that, or are you?
So we actually don't put the botanicals in the pot. We've got a gin basket. So we basically open up the gin basket and put all the ingredients for either our gin or for our salsa. We do it the same way. Put them in the gin basket. Then the alcohol vapor rises through all the ingredients in the basket and kind of picks it up. We think you get a better flavor by using that basket as opposed to steeping them in the pot itself. That way it makes it a little bit easier. We're pretty much cleaning the gin basket, cleaning out the pot with some of the stuff that goes back into it and kind of running water through our lines. It's real easy to clean that stuff out that way.
That's called the Dutch process, or I've heard.
It's a London dry.
London dry.
Okay.
Yes.
I've
And there's
heard
very
different names
little,
on
if any, contamination to the
Correct.
next batch, obviously once it's cleaned.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, did that take experimenting, or did you? I mean, how much did you actually learn starting and doing different things, and then getting the money to actually invest in the process?
Poppy and my brother experimented quite a bit at the house, and they would be the first to tell you they made a lot of stuff that they wouldn't give not only to me but to anybody else for that matter. But that was also the fun part is the experimental part. And Kevin has since dialed everything in, so everything that we have now is very consistent in how we make it. And going back to having a lot of products, probably more products. Probably the most products of a Virginia distillery. Kevin and Poppy treat it like each spirit, each product is a child, right? And you love them all the same. And some need a little bit more tending than others at times. But at the end of the day, they're able to scale and promote a certain product based on the market. Not so much what they're looking to do, but what the market tells us that the market wants. And that's given us the flexibility to scale certain products fairly quickly and now very consistently.
Gotcha. That's so cool. Part of the experimentation process is putting your own flair on it, right? So how much have you been able to say, hey, I'm Kevin, I want to do this? Or do you have to run it by Jim first and say, hey, do you mind if I put some coffee in your barrel?
They pretty much give us free reign to do stuff. I mean, they know that, we're not going to do something that's not going to come out good. Or if it doesn't come out good, we do have that vodka column there. One of our owners calls it the big eraser. So if anything ever happens, we can run it through the still and rip all the flavor out because vodka is a neutral spirit.
Right.
So we can't save anything that way. But especially the brutalities, even if it's a fruit, vegetable, herb, or some species of small animal, we put in alcohol to see what it tastes like for the infusions. We're always trying stuff to see what happens with it, whether it's that or the experiments with the brutalities or even the bourbons. I mean, just by, I said, I want a number 4 char. I like that big, heavy taste, and I like the colors that come out of that. They said, whatever you want, go take care of it and make it happen, and let's see what happens. So
Sure.
They've been wonderful, great people to work for, great family-owned, family-run business that treat me like family, which is tremendous.
Sounds like you're keeping your job.
Oh, absolutely.
He's doing well. Yeah, and you'll see the experimental side is not only in the distillation process, but also in our cocktail process.
Oh, sure.
You'll find that Poppy's has things included in his cocktails on the menu that he's looking for feedback from our guests. And frankly, banana whiskey, salsa whiskey, and some of the others that are now lines in our family portfolio started very humbly in jars in the tasting room that Kevin and Poppy were having our guests give them immediate feedback.
That's cool.
And so that's going to continue always with not only Poppy and Kevin, but Murlarkey. That's what has allowed us to continue to innovate like we do.
I think one thing unique about us here is Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturday at 4:30 and 5:30, we've got a cocktail lounge here. Poppy's got about 50 cocktails on the menu, everything from old fashions and Manhattans to chocolate hazelnut truffles and lemon meringue pies. So there's something for everybody here, and people really appreciate. He thinks in flavors. He's a genius when it comes to coming up with these cocktails. I always say they keep me back here for a reason. You do not want me behind that bar trying to make you a drink. That's why we have him.
That's cool though that you're allowing that instant feedback from your guests and giving that. I mean, man, that salsa whiskey that I tried at the Spirits Expo was phenomenal, and I didn't think I would like it.
Right.
I saw that and I was like, oh, that's
very
kinda,
unique. Once people try it, they're like blown away because it literally smells and tastes just like salsa. Like I said, a Bloody Mary, a spicy margarita, even a shot of it's just amazing.
Yeah, and I can only imagine what kind of cocktails you can concoct with that outside of just those. But
extreme flavors, right? So we're limited to 3 ounces per person per day, being a distillery tasting room. That sort of forces us to promote the most savory cocktails that you can enjoy, 2 of them for an hour and a half. Sip it, enjoy it, taste every sip. Half of our cocktails are paired to some degree with a garnish that's edible, whether it's a piece of beef jerky or chips and salsa with our salsa or a seasonal cookie. Things that you take a little bite, you take a little sip, you take a little bite, you take a little sip, and it's just it's a lovely experience for our guests.
Very cool. I love it. I love that community. I mean, do you have a lot of people who travel, who come from out of the state that show up here, or is it mostly Virginians who show up?
Well, it truly is a community-driven cocktail lounge and distillery. However, being as close as we are to Jiffy Lube Live, where they have 26 venues a year with over 10,000 folks, there's a lot of cars that go through go by our front door. Also, being a leader in craft distilling in Virginia, we're now on that map of being in festivals in Virginia Beach, Richmond, Charlottesville, Northern Virginia. So folks come and go. They do see us more now than they ever have. And while they might not traveling specifically to come here for Murlarkey from Maryland or inner DC or Arlington, Alexandria, there's so many other options out here. Murlarkey's definitely a stop along their way.
We do get quite a few people visit from out of town. Family comes in, then they make it sure that they stop here every time they come by after they've been here once.
Sure. I'm kind of curious how many carbon copies there are of me, and I'm one of probably a billion whiskey people who are like, well, I'm in a town, I might as well go try one of the distilleries.
Absolutely.
No, and I'm probably 9 times out of 10 going to go to the one that I've never heard of.
Sure.
You know, I've been to Kentucky how many times? I've been to Jim Beam. It's great. It's a beautiful experience.
Yes.
But I'm going to go find that one little local place that's only available in Kentucky.
Correct.
And probably the same goes for Virginia. You know, it's like when I moved here, I had never heard of Murlarkey. I've heard of a couple different Virginia spirits, but speaking of Virginia is known for its rye.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys do a rye? Or are you going to?
So we've done a rye that we put in a barrel for a brutality that at some point in the future, you know, if it comes out, people like it, we'll look. We get asked that a lot. I mean, I'm a big bourbon guy. Rye's okay to me, but, you know, if the market demands it, we might go down that path at some point.
Okay.
Rye's a popular spirit, no question. There's a lot of ryes out there. It's grown. There's not a lot of Virginia ryes. So it would be a nice differentiator should we choose to go that route. As we mentioned earlier, these five brown whiskeys currently are keeping Kevin busy. But a rye whiskey would be something that we certainly would consider in the future.
Very cool. Are there any fun experiments that you can disclose that we can look forward to?
Well, we with the brutality line, there's been some fun ones, and I know Kevin would probably tell you a little bit about Rumlarkey. That was a fun one.
Absolutely.
We've done ones with the pear brandy. That was a cool one.
We've distilled some beer before and blended it with some whiskey and added it in there. We actually got some wine that was winery went out of business and distilled the wine and have put it into several different barrels: new charred, used charred, uncharred wine barrel. Possibly we'll blend that with some heritage or some bourbon down the road as well for a brutality down the line. So a lot of collaboration with breweries as well, like we did with Tucked Away and Ornery here. We've done stuff with Cedar Run, have done stuff with Tin Can, and have done stuff with all the local breweries in the area here.
Sure. Oh, that sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Any other things with your other spirits like vodkas or gins? Any unique things?
just the infusions,
Right.
but nothing scalable at this time. We do believe that we have a lot of folks, a lot of spirits in our stable to work with and sell. But the seasonality of cocktail making will always include or allow poppy to steep pears in the fall and blackberries in the spring or fall, and pineapple in the summer, and strawberries and things of that nature. We don't anticipate expanding a vodka line to infused vodkas. There's certainly plenty of those out there on the shelves, and frankly, we wouldn't be able to scale those as cost effective as the big boys do.
Right.
But the big boys aren't looking to scale. They're a white whiskey infused with all natural ingredients like we have. So we do believe that is our differentiator, and that would be the opportunity for us to continue to grow in that regard.
Is there anyone out there who's doing that you've seen, or are you kind of paving the way for that market? Because to be quite honest, I've done a little bit of digging, and Murlarkey's the only big name brand.
Yeah, I think we're the only ones I can think of that aren't adding the sugar stuff in there. You know, doing the moonshines, they're all sugared up, which is fine for some people, but you can always add sugar or simple syrup. You can never take it away once it's in there.
Right.
So that gives us a lot of flexibility for us. And like I said, we get kind of that credibility by not having it all sugared up and sickly sweet. So we are pretty unique in that respect.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, keep driving forward. That's a cool little, path you can pave your own way.
Absolutely.
Right.
And carve your own path.
Jim said it is a differentiator by not having that sugar and by having all those different flavors. We've got, I think, 15 different products out there right now. So that's quite a bit for a distillery when you look at it that way.
Yeah, I was surprised when I was browsing your website a while back. I was like, this guy's got a lot of stuff. And I mean, I'm a whiskey guy, but I of course, the whiskey brings me here. I try different things, and I walk home with a bottle that's not whiskey.
You're right.
That's awesome.
And 7 different products of those, 6 or 7 of those that are international
Correct.
gold medal winners. So, I mean, the goal isn't to have 25 products with 15 gold medals. It's really just to dial into what we make well, what the consumer thinks we make well, and make it as consistent and well as we do.
Awesome.
It's got to taste good and smell good at the end of the day. That's the bottom line, really.
Hey, that's right. That's right. I think we have one more here to try.
Yep. We've got, did you try the 4-year-old?
No,
No.
not yet.
Did I not pour you one? All right, here we go. Give you this one. Give you that right there.
Beautiful.
Nice healthy pour.
And what's the proof on that?
That's 103.2.
Man, that does not feel like 100.
Right, and that's barrel proof, so no water added to it, just right out of the barrel.
Sure. Oh, man.
Easy drinking.
That drink's like an 80 proof bourbon.
Absolutely. Got that good mouthfeel, though. It's not thin, which is definitely nice.
What about any like single malts or
We've
Irish
done
whiskey copies?
We've done a couple malted whiskeys for brutalities in the past where it's 60-70% malt with a little bit of corn in there. The Irish whiskey, the Heritage whiskey is closest in style to that. It's not made like an Irish whiskey, but with that red wine charred barrel in there, it really drinks a lot closer to an Irish style whiskey like a Redbreast or a Yellow Spot or a Jameson or one of those kind of things.
Cool. Well, this has been great. I will say that the Smokehouse bourbon, as far as just a
Smokehouse whiskey.
I'm sorry.
Just to be sure.
I said it before, too. Smokehouse whiskey, as far as something that really just knocks you off your feet as like what expectation and unique. That is probably, and it's just the story that you're cooking bacon. I mean, good Lord. When you're doing that, tell me when you're...
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
What do you guys have a favorite, like your baby that you've really enjoyed, that this is our, we go home and sleep good at night because we made this?
For me, it's our heritage and our birthright, really. I'm a bourbon guy, so really I gravitate towards those. So those are my nightly sippers, basically. That's what I drink here. One of those 2 on the rocks, basically, and that's kind of it.
Beautiful.
I love an old-fashioned at night, so the Heritage whiskey really resonates well with myself. But and we drink a tremendous amount of our vodka, which is great. The one thing I think, though, that when I lay my head down at night, one of my most proud of is the more I'm in our tasting room, the more I'm around folks at festivals and all, and their eyes light up when they try the Smokehouse, or they try the salsa whiskey, or they buy a bottle of tea whiskey because it's the summer, or they're gonna enjoy a cinnamon whiskey and apple cider in the fall. seeing them enjoy that makes us the most proud, because everybody's unique in terms of their palate and what they're looking for.
Right.
And for us, our goal is to not only make an instant connection of welcomeness to the tasting room or a festival in particular, but then try to find a common ground of what they like to drink. And if they like a certain area, whether it's whiskey, vodka, gin, or infusions, we steer them that way, and you just get to see their eyes open, and that's gratifying.
Yeah, all of our flavor infusions are really, you can make really simple cocktails with one ingredient, maybe two ingredients. It doesn't take you 12 ingredients and half an hour to make a drink. 10 seconds, you add lemonade to the 3T whiskey, got an amazing summer cocktail. You can't go wrong.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, hey, especially when you're like 3 or 4 cocktails deep, you don't want to have all that extra science going on.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
I mean, well, hey, you guys have some of the best jobs in the world, I'm sure. Get
No
to
doubt.
taste things as you go. I appreciate you having me here. I appreciate you sharing your story and your spirits.
Absolutely. I did want to bring one thing up. We are moving to a new location.
Oh, that's right. You told me off
So
mic.
we are building a 30,000 square foot distillery about 4 miles from here on the Two Silos Farm Brew Live campus. We should be in there this time next year. We will be expanding tremendously, so I think that's pretty exciting as everything goes as well.
Are you keeping this location? Or
This will eventually go away.
Correct. We will transition out of here once we're fully operational over there, and we'll leave what's been a wonderful chapter for our company, our startup company, here at this location. It was received very well in the community. We have a great landlord partner here, and we're excited to continue to grow over at the Two Silos Farm Brew Live.
We pretty much quadruple in production when we're over there, so it's going to get bigger, better. Keep it going. Keep the quality there.
Yeah, hey, well, that's more things to sample.
Absolutely. But I say, if we don't take Uber home, it's a bad day at work.
That's right.
Can you expense that? Well, you have an awesome space here, and I look forward to seeing the new space. But you have great spirits and great stories, so I appreciate both of you. So,
Thank you very much.
our
Really
pleasure.
appreciate you coming
Thank
out.
you.
Thanks.
Of course. Cheers.
course.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it if you left us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. The more reviews, the easier we are to find. Also, if you aren't already, be sure to follow us on social media so you never miss any of our updates. Be sure to share this episode with your friends, and always be sure to drink responsibly. There are quite literally thousands of distilleries, so we're just getting started. Stay tuned for more conversations with master distillers, distillery owners, mixologists, and even bar owners, and more. Cheers.